Hi and welcome to this video. Today we're going to walk through building a navigation component. Now I'm sure you've all seen there are plenty of navigation component examples out there, but today we're going to try something that's a little bit different and make ours dynamic in as much as it will pin or fly out from the side, much like this, or we'll be able to pin it to the top in a more traditional format. So I hope you enjoy the video and bear with me while I get us set up. Okay, so welcome back. This video will be a bit stop and start as we move through the various sections of building a navigation. There will be parts of it that require me to make repetitive changes, and I want to make sure that you don't have to sit through that. So we are in a blank canvas app. We have absolutely nothing going on here. So what we're going to do to start off with is we're going to go into components and start to build a new component. We'll rename that to make it more reflective of what we're building. Okay, now our navigation is going to have two modes. It's going to fly out from the left, or it's going to pin to the top of the screen. So to manage that status, we're going to use a Boolean for the navigation mode. So we're going to create a new input property, call it navigation mode, and we'll change it to be a Boolean. And just because we want to ensure that anybody using this component understands what it's there for, we're going to put in here that this property manages the navigation display mode. Fly out from left or pin to top of screen. Okay. Make sure we spell it correctly, and we'll save that. The next property that we're going to need is going to be the links that we want to display in the navigation. Now we can use another input property, but this time we're going to select the table type. So we'll be able to store a table of values here. So let's call this navigation elements. Okay, brilliant. Right, so at the moment, if we take a look at the component itself and take a look at the navigation mode, it's currently set to true. Now, we'll use true as being its pinned mode, so when it's pinned to the top of the screen. Now, when it's pinned to the top of the screen, we obviously want it to take the full width of the screen, but not the full height. So what we're going to need to do is put some conditions on the width and the height properties of this navigation to change depending on the navigation mode's value. Now, in order for us to see what this looks like on a screen, we'll select a background color. Let's just select gray for now, and then we'll add the component actually onto the screen. Now, because we're going to have two modes and we're using reusable components, well then let's just use them for the intention that they were designed for. So we'll have a screen here, and we will call this pinned navigation screen, and we'll add a second screen, and we'll call this the flyout navigation screen. And what we'll do, navigation screen, and what we'll do is we'll add a component to each screen so that we can manage, so we can see exactly what the effects of our development in the component have to our app. So we'll go to insert, and then under custom, you'll see we have our navigation component. Now at the moment it just looks like a grey square, and that's what we would expect. So we're going to add that to both screens because the component currently is a grey square, as you can see here. Now the properties we're going to change are going to be the width and the height. So we'll start with the height, and we said that true means that the navigation is going to be set to be in its pinned mode, so it'll be taking up the full width of the screen and pinned to the top of the screen. So the height of it, we're going to put a condition on, and we're going to do that using the if statement. Now, our component is called navigation, and we know that it has a mode, so it's navigation mode. So if the navigation mode is true, which ours is, then you can see from our IntelliSense and helper text up here that we need to put in the true value. So we're going to set it to be 60 pixels high if that's true. If it's false, well then that means it's in its flyout mode, and the height should be the entire height of the screen. And we can use the app.height property to manage that, and then we'll close the statement. So what we're saying here is if the navigation component's navigation mode property is true, or it's set to true, we want to set the height to be a value of 60 pixels. If it isn't, we want to set it to be the height of the screen. And we can test that. We can see that it's already set to 60 pixels, but if we change the navigation mode from true to false, we would expect to see the height of the component change pretty dramatically. And we can see that on both of our screens here. You can see that on both screens, the height is now set to the full height of the app. So let's set that back to true. And we can now see that the component is, it's only 60 pixels high. So we're going to take the same approach for the width property. So in this case, we're going to say if the navigation mode is true, then we want to set it to be the full width of the app. So we'll do app.width. If not, well then we need to figure out how much of the screen do we want to take. And in the demo that I showed you at the kickoff of this video, we have this. This is what we're essentially going to try and build. And this navigation, let me show you. This navigation has some links. It has a picture of the user, some information about the user, some app-specific information that we can choose to omit, and then some information about the app itself. And this is useful. This could be contextual. So as we're having navigation on different screens, you could customize this text to provide help about the screen of the app that the user's actually on. But this is basically it. And this takes, in my mind, it takes nearly 2/3 of the screen. So let's go back to our code here. And remember, we're setting the width of our navigation component. So we're going to say if the mode is true, so it's going to be pinned to the top of the screen, we're going to take the full width. If it's not, then we're going to take the app.width and let's divide that by 3. All right. So let's take a look on our screen now. There we go. So that's the navigation taking the full width of the screen. And if we change this component, we can change the navigation mode of this particular one to false. Then we're taking 1/3 of the screen. All right, so far so good. Let's take a look at our example again. Now this navigation is in its full expanded mode. We have, maybe that's the title of the application, so that can be an input property. We need some more input properties for the image, the job title and the display name of the user. We have our links, which we already have, and we have this text here, which I think we should only show if the app is in its full flyout mode. And then we have a button here to take us to some location. So what we'll do is we'll go back into our component and we'll add in a few more properties. So let's add in the app title. That can be a text and that will be an input property. Let's add in the user display name. Again, that can be text. Let's add in the user job title. Again, that will be text. And then we'll add in the user's image. So this time we're going to change it to be an image. So user image. Now we're going to build this into our app, and we're going to have to use a lot of conditional if this then that style code, because we kind of have two layouts to manage now. We have the layout when we're pinned to the top of the screen, and if you look at the layout of the Canvas app studio here, you can see traditionally you have the image in the top right hand corner, so that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do in this case. But I think we're probably going to need to make the height of the component a little bit more generous. I don't think 60 pixels is going to be quite enough. So let's bump that up to 80 pixels. Go back to our screen and see what that looks like. I mean, that looks like we can probably get quite a lot of useful information on the screen. So we'll go back into our component. We'll go to Insert, we'll go over to Media, and we'll add in an image. Now the image position, we'll have to use what we call relative positioning. If we stick an absolute value, and by that I mean if you see up in the position properties here, we have the X value, which is the horizontal position of the component, and then the Y, which is the vertical position. If we fix that, it's not going to work for the two modes that we have, because if you imagine we've got the fixed mode where we want the image to show in the top right corner, then we have the flyout mode where the image is actually going to be somewhere in the middle of the screen. So we need to consider that when we're positioning our elements. We'll also follow a good naming convention, so we'll use Hungarian notation. So IMG represents the what, so it's an image, and then we'll put in user profile photo, so we know exactly what this component is. Now the image itself, it has an image property, and that's going to be what we're actually going to display. That's going to be the from the navigation component, that's going to be the user image. Okay, so what we'll do there, we'll change that from sample image, and we'll put navigation dot user image. Now the positioning of it, I would suggest that we stick it in the top right corner, much like we do here, much like we do in many of the apps that you'll be familiar with using. When the navigation's display mode is in this format. When the display mode, if we change the display mode to false so that we have it in flyout mode, well, now we need to do something with our image, because now it's all the way over here somewhere. If we zoom out, you can see it's all the way over here, so that no longer works. And in that case, what we probably should be doing is finding somewhere else to put it. Now if you imagine when the app is in flyout mode, this kind of top section here, we need to reserve that screen space in order to accommodate our burger button, to show and hide the the navigation. So we're going to leave that top section free. So, and then we want the app title, so we probably want it somewhere down here when the display mode is in flyout. So if we look at the position, we have, say, I don't know, if we bump that up to 30 pixels from the left, and what this value actually means, the X value, when we see 30, that means that this object is 30 pixels from the left-hand side of the screen, not from the right. So it's from the left. That's the way that we work. So if we were to double that to 60, then this object will move further across to the right of the screen. So let's put that back to 30. That's a decent number. And then so that it's easy to remember, let's put that at 175. So 30 by 175, right? So those are the two values that we're going to set if the navigation's display mode is false, or it's set to flyout. Okay. So we'll go down to, we'll attack the X coordinate first. So we go down to the X coordinate, and you can see currently that's 30. So what we'll say here is if the navigation mode is true, so that's going to be if it's pinned to the top of the screen. Well, we haven't really discussed where that's going, but we know it's the top right hand corner. So what we can do is use the app.width value, and then we'll subtract 100 pixels. So we know that's going to be right over to the right hand side of the screen, and then it's going to move it in 100 pixels from the right. And if it isn't, i.e. it's in its flyout mode, then we'll stick it 30 pixels from the left-hand side of the screen. All right, so if we change the mode again, we would expect, so here we can see that the image is going to be displayed exactly where we want it for the X coordinates. We also need to change the Y coordinates, and this time it's going to be slightly different because we are going to set it to 0 if the navigation mode is pinned, and we're going to set it to 175 if it's in flyout mode. So we go to the Y value, and we'll say if navigation mode is true, we will set that to 0. If not, we will set it to 175. And 0 simply means 0 pixels from the top of the screen. Okay, so the X coordinate, when that value is set to 0, it's 0 pixels from the left, and the Y coordinate, if it's 0 pixels, it counts the pixels from the top. So a value of 0, 0 would be the top left. Okay, let's take a look at our screens in a way that we can actually see them. Okay, so we'll change, this should be in pinned mode. So currently it's set to false because we changed the property on the component. And you can now see that the image is right over in the, nestled in the top right hand side of the screen. And in our flyout mode, we've got it nicely positioned exactly where we want it. So that's good. Now, in terms of positioning things, this is the approach that we are going to take for pretty much all of the components in this app. So what I'll do is I will pause now. I will add in a job, the display name of the user. I'll get the text positioned correctly and the job title of the user. And then I will start the video again and show you the approach that I took. But it's going to be very similar. It's going to be based on this navigation mode. The positioning of pretty much all of the components of this reusable component are going to be based around the navigation mode. All right, so I'll pause now and then we'll reconvene in a little while. Okay, so welcome back. And where did we get to? So before the brief pause in the video, we were looking at how will this component look in its two different formats. Now, some of the changes that I've made, let's quickly walk you through what I've done. So firstly, I've grouped all of the controls together that are related to the user info. So that way, as we add more and more to this navigation, it's easy for me to see which elements in the component relate to the functionality. Now, one of the things I had to do was to change, I had to put a lot of control in mostly the size and the X and Y coordinates of these three objects. Now, I did that by using the if this then that approach. So if the navigation mode is true, i.e. it's going to be pinned on the top of the screen, then I had to change various properties. So for example, if we take a look at the username object, I've changed the size. So if it's pinned to the top, then the font is slightly smaller than what it would be if it's in flyout mode. The width, I decided to change the width to be slightly more dynamic, to take as much of the available space as possible, to account for, because we don't know how long we need to make the text control to fit people's names in. The X coordinate I've changed to pin it to this image here. So this is what we call relative positioning. So here the text is relative to the X location of the user profile photo plus the width of it, so that it moves it. If I took away the width, and then it would align to the left-hand edge of the image, which is no good. So I've simply added on the width of that, so this will dynamically resize. And again, I've done that with with all of the controls here, whether it's the X or the Y coordinates. Now, how does that look? So currently this is the navigation pinned to the top of the screen, so it's not looking too bad. And then on the flyout navigation, we can see that the text and the image is exactly where we want it. Now, how would this work in reality? Well, we're going to connect this app up to Office 365 users, because we're going to look at the pro. I'm just going to use an existing connection that I already have. I'm sure you're aware of how to connect it. If not, I'll pop a link to a video showing you how to do that. So now we've connected the app to the Office 365 users connector. What I can do here is in the app, so this is a great use for the onStart property. So what we'll do here is we'll create a variable containing the user's profile. So let's call this user profile. This will be Office 365 users get profile user profile v2, and the user will be the current user of the app. So that's going to be user.id. Email. Okay, so if we run the onStart, we're going to look up the user's ID, and now we should have a variable containing a record, which is all of my information from Azure AD. So you can see I've got my display name, my department, my job title, etc., etc. And that's the information that we're going to pass in to this. So instead of it saying text, we're going to actually say, we'll go to my user profile and we'll get my display name. And we'll do the same for the user job title. So replace that with the variable that we just created, and we'll grab the job title. Brilliant. Now we've got to populate the image. Now again, we could use a variable if we had it, or we can just simply type it in here, which is what we'll do now. So we'll do Office 365 users, user photo, and what we'll do is we'll use the ID of the app user. And what we should hopefully see now is my serious looking image. Okay, so that's how our navigation is looking. So we've got room for all of the links and the other options that we want to build into this, and maybe a room over here for a logo if we want to put a logo in for the app. So if we go onto this screen, because it's essentially a different component, we're going to have to do the same thing here. So we're going to go to the user display name. In fact, we'll just copy the text here. So user display name, we'll grab. We'll copy that and paste that over here. And we've got the job title. We'll grab that. And you can start to get a flavor or an indication as to where we are headed with this navigation. Excellent. So let's take a look at the preview. So there we go. That's how the single component looks in both modes. And remember, we have the navigation mode property. Whoops, we have the navigation mode property, which flicks this between flyout mode or pinned mode. Okay, so it's a single component, two ways of using it. The next part of the video, I'm going to pause again now, and then we'll walk through the approach to implementing this. But this is where we're going to now connect. We're going to add in a gallery. So we'll do an insert of a gallery. somewhere down here, and we will add in the links that we're going to display, because remember we're kind of using this as inspiration, so we want some links to display in our navigation. And we have a property for that called navigation elements, which is a table property. So we'll insert a gallery, and I will show you the approach that I took to getting this to work once I've completed that. Okay, welcome back again. So we've moved forward a little bit in as much as I've added in a gallery, and the gallery itself is connected to the navigation elements property of the navigation component. So what did we do with this? So the big changes with using the gallery. So the gallery, when you add a gallery onto the screen, its orientation is fixed. So and by that I mean if you choose a vertical gallery, then it means every item within the gallery stacks vertically. If you add in a horizontal gallery, then as you'd imagine, the items kind of align horizontally. And the challenge we have is that we want to be able to make the navigation work in both in both a sort of pinned mode at the top of the screen or a flyout mode. So what I've basically done, if I select the gallery, so my workaround for this was to use a property called the wrap count. Now the wrap count property, if you set it to 1, which is the default, then it essentially says that one item will fill the entire width of the gallery. And I've changed that based on however many rows there are in the links collection. So at the moment I'm saying count the number of rows and set that to be the value of the wrap count. So at the moment, when I change this to true, if we take a look, you can see the wrap count is actually set to 4, because that's how many items there are in the navigation links property. Now, obviously this is a number that is going to change. It could be less, could be more. So what I've done is I've kind of set the width of the gallery to be the full width of the screen minus the space that the image and the user's display name takes up. So it gives me, and then I've removed a further 150 pixels off of that, so that I have some space here to put in, maybe a logo or some kind of button. I don't really know. So how does that look? If I change the navigation mode back to false, and if we take a look at our screens, so we have our pinned navigation, let's set that to be true, and we have our flyout navigation screens. So let's take a preview. So this is currently what it's looking like. We've got some links at the top now, and then the basic information about the app user, so that's when it's pinned at the top. And then in the flyout mode, you can see we have also displayed the name of the app, and we have the same information, but this time everything is stacked vertically. One other thing we need to think about for this particular implementation is how to show and hide the navigation. So we'll quickly do that now, and we can do that by adding in an icon. So if we add an icon onto the screen, and we choose a navigation style icon, so something that is familiar. There we are. So let's use the hamburger. If we set that to like 25 pixels both ways, it's usually a good size. And let's move it around a bit. So What we can do is, because this component itself has a visibility property, what we can do is we can set that visibility property via a variable. So what we'll do with this icon is on its onSelect property or event, sorry, we'll say show navigation. Let's set it to be the opposite of whatever global show navigation is. Seems confusing. And it will all make sense in a second. Then we'll go to the navigation component, get the visibility property, and set that to be global show navigation. And you'll see now that the navigation has disappeared. So when we click it, we're going to set it to the opposite of what it currently is. So currently it's false. We'll click it, it will be true. We'll click it again, it's false, and so on and so forth. We click and click and click, and it will show and hide. And now we have the whole screen, dedicated to the app, and we can display the navigation pretty simply. So that's how we do that. With the pinned navigation, the temptation is just to leave it there. It's not. We could have, we could take a very similar approach and show and hide it, but I think the idea here is that it would always be visible across the screens. Let's take a look at the actual navigation elements. A quick walkthrough of the schema there. So format the text so it looks like it makes sense. So this is the default table, and these are the items that you're seeing on the screen there. And a quick walkthrough. We've got the title, which is what you're seeing as the text of the button. The destination. So I've set this to be, so obviously this is a string. And this we're setting it to be the data type of screen. Now we're setting it as app.activeScreen, and we can easily change that. Here I've added in a type property as well for screen, because I wanted to demonstrate how we could have a mixture of navigation items that link to screens within your app, but also links to external sites. So for example, I have the Power Apps blog. So if we click Power Apps blog, then we click the button, it launches the Power Apps blog for us. And that's pretty useful because you might have external help, you might have external forms. I don't know what the scenario will be, but here I've basically set that to be a link. And how that works is actually in the on-click event of the button. So if we take a look at the on-click event of the button, then you'll see we've got a simple check here to say if you are a screen, and then when you're clicked, navigate to whatever the destination screen is. However, if you are not, then you're a link, then we'll use the launch function. So it's very slightly different functions. We've got the navigate, which flicks between Power App screens, and we have launch, which opens up a web page in a new tab. That's where we are currently. If we take a look at our example, so we've kind of got this bit working. We've got the toggling. We've got some links. We have the basic information. We have the app title. We don't have any app text or help button. So that's something that we'll build in now. And again, just to remind you why that's relevant, if you imagine your app on each screen, you would essentially have the navigation component. By having this text here, it gives you the opportunity to put in some useful helper text around what the functionality is on this screen. So for example, this is the start screen of an app that I was playing around with a while ago, and essentially I could click here and this will tell me exactly what the information on this screen is there for. So as with the other points in this video, I'm going to pause now. I'm going to extend the navigation to make it look a little bit more like this, rather than what we're currently looking at, which is some of the way there. We have some information which is similar to the experience in this screenshot, but we're still some way off. So I'll pause here and reconvene in a bit. Okay, we're basically ready to continue. So all I've done is I've extended the width of the component when the navigation mode is set to flyout. I've added in a background rectangular shape or square shape. I've added in the helper text the help text title and the actual text that we want to display as help. I also added in 2 additional properties, so screen help title and screen help body text. The final change that I made was I grouped these together and then set the visibility to only show this if the navigation mode is set to flyout, which is the false property. So if we take a look at our screen now, so this is the navigation now. If we flick and hide it, so we can put our helper text over here. Now that's obviously going to be at the component level, so we'll go to the screen help title and we'll put on how to use this screen, and then the second property is the body text. Now I quickly generated some lorem ipsum, which is it's dummy text essentially. So to do that in Word, you just type equals lorem. I think it's sentences, then paragraphs, but essentially that gives you some dummy text. So we'll take this, see how that fares. So it's currently set to text, and there is our helper text. The final thing we need to do is add in a button. So if this, or maybe even a video, I don't know, we could really go crazy here. In fact, why don't we? We could add in a video control here to provide not only text but video guidance on what the user should do or what this app is actually for. So we'll remove a little bit of this text to give ourselves some more room. You can tell that I'm very much making this up as I go along. And really the aim of that is just to prove how quickly we can develop things in the Power Platform. So we'll go back to our component, and somewhere down here we'll add in a video control. So we'll go to media and then we'll go to video. We'll drop that down here, make it, I don't know, so big. That looks about right. And again, we'll control its visibility. So a few things we need to do. One is auto start. We'll set that to be true so that it automatically plays when it's visible. And okay. And what we'll do is on the visibility control, instead of that being true, thank you, it's finished. If you could hear that, but it started playing. So if it's, what we'll do is we'll say if the navigation .nav mode is, well, essentially we want it to be false. So there's a couple of ways we could do that, but we'll do nothing here. So we'll hide it if you're going to be in pinned mode, and if not, we'll show it. So we would expect to see that. Now the background color, let's fill that the same as the app. Does it have a border? No. Image stretch. I don't know what that does. It doesn't seem to be doing much. Okay, so let's give that a go. We'll go back to our screen. And here is our video control in our navigation. So now our navigation has some instructions on how to use this. A video. Now the video control itself, what we'll do is we'll populate that with a video. So let me just pause and find something that's suitable. Okay, so I think I found something that's suitable. I didn't really want to search while we were recording, so we'll go back into the component. Now the video control itself, it has a media property. It's currently set to that sample video, which is the thing that you've seen playing. So what we can do here is pop in a YouTube link, and We'll go back to our screen and we'll preview, and there you can see we have an overview of Power Apps. Amazing, right?
Smarter.
So there is, it could be refined, it could be made to look a little bit nicer, but essentially this is a single component that really quickly enabled us to, a single component can be used in two ways. So we've got the flyout mode for navigation, and we have the pinned navigation. Now this, I feel we've somewhat neglected it, but you can get the gist of where this could go. So we have single navigation, two completely different experiences, and again you could toggle this very, very easily by using a similar approach to what we have here. So if we copy this icon across to this screen, just align it slightly differently, and then for this navigation we'll set its visibility to be whatever that show navigation property is. Now we should have toggle navigation again, but this time it's pinned to the top of the screen. Now if we wanted to change any one of these items here, so we simply go to the navigation items, navigation elements, and let's change this to be just to show you how that would work. So this is the flyout navigation demo, and we'll change that from being app.activeScreen to flyout should be able to navigation screen. So now we should be working. So again, so that we can show and hide it, flyout navigation demo, and now we're on that screen. This screen has the flyout navigation, and here we're showing the same set of links. Well, sorry, actually we're not showing the same set of links. We had to update them, but you could set a table in the onStart event of the app, for example. That would be a good place to set your navigation, and then just connect each screen's navigation component up to that table. I haven't done that, as you can see, but we have screens, we have external links. We have a nice blend there. We have a video control and some localized help for this particular screen. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching.